stop everything because the fairy tale just tripped over its own glass slipper. And this time the spotlight didn't hide it, it exposed it. According to explosive claims amplified by Tom Bauer, what was supposed to be a triumphant prestige moment for Meghan Markle at the Sundance Film Festival has turned into a whispering, side-eyeing Hollywood headache that insiders are still buzzing about.
Truth about Meghan Markle's so-called cookie queens is being revealed after a disappearance at the Sundance Film Festival.
I thought she behaved so badly, and Harry too.
He blames the media for her, in his words, murdered her, which is complete nonsense.
Tom Bauer, the legendary royal author, is sharp his quill. Every single thing he has written about Meghan.
First person to say how limited Prince Harry is, unfortunately, and how his wife trades off her husband's fame and fortune, or not so great fortune now. I mean, this is the problem, but we're still interested because, after all, he's a great character in our modern day.
Meghan was angling for an invite to this funeral. She saw it as an opportunity. She's not wrong there. These big celebrity funerals, they're not like ours. They really are networking moments. I went to Joan Rivers' funeral.
Firstly, be seen with Harry, and secondly, didn't want to go somewhere where she'd appear cheap and give it gratis. And this year, she is desperate to be seen. Yeah. And that's why she turned up. So I think she has a major problem.
I mean, this was a calculated attempt against the families. I mean, the one thing that Samantha Markle always predicted was
King Charles and Prince William are now at war over Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's Donald Trump rebuke.
So Harry and Meghan want us to discuss the fact that they executive produced Cookie Queens and popped up at the Sundance Film Festival. And I'm happy to oblige, but not in the way they probably hoped.
Apparently Meghan Markle didn't even watch the documentary she produced.
Meghan, because that was the sort of person she was looking for, famous and rich.
I don't think Harry feels any remorse. And I think that is the key thing in all this reconciliation. He still thinks that he's owed an apology from Charles and from William for the way they've treated not only him but also Meghan. And he doesn't want to realize that it's his behavior, his writing for money, being so unbelievably disloyal.
She invited herself to that. The only place that she has a standing open invite to where she will not appear, a tragedy.
The story swirling through industry circles isn't about red carpets or empowerment speeches. It's about a documentary she passionately praised, one that multiple attendees later claimed she may not have even fully understood, and possibly hadn't watched in full. That's the accusation making the rounds, and in Hollywood, perception is oxygen. If people believe you're selling a message you didn't sit through, credibility starts leaking fast. Behind the velvet ropes and practiced smiles, the mood inside that screening room reportedly felt off. Not explosive, not dramatic, just awkward in the slow, uncomfortable way that spreads seat by seat. The kind of energy where applause sounds polite instead of electric. Where glances get exchanged. Where publicists start texting under their chairs.
Perhaps. So he's, they toddle over to Sundance where allegedly they have produced, their names are on the stock as a producer, a documentary about Girl Scouts trying to sell their cookies. It's called Cookie Queen. Edge of your seat viewing, okay? Now, there are reports the Daily Mail has that the Sundance screening had rows and rows and rows of empty seats, while the Sussex squad, those nebulous 10 fans out there, claim that it was a standing room only, sold out screening, because who doesn't want to watch a bunch of 8-year-olds trying to sling some cookies over at the local Stop and Shop?
She arrived polished, poised, camera ready, the full premiere package. Speeches about impact, words about meaning, gratitude flowing in every direction. But people who actually watched the film, according to Bauer's sourced accounts, walked out talking about something very different from what was celebrated on stage. That disconnect between the tone of the documentary and the tone of the praise is what lit the fuse. Because this wasn't just a sweet nostalgia piece. Beneath the bright badges and smiling kids, the film reportedly digs into the uncomfortable economics behind youth sales culture. Parents fronting large sums of money, families competing with resources not everyone has, children subtly coached to perform charm like it's a skill on a resume. It's layered, it's messy. It's not the simple empowerment arc some expected.
idea about the truth of the film that she is promoting, given that she decided to buy it without actually having anything to do with its production. But of course, Meghan's behavior towards the children themselves is also being exposed. Look at this from the red carpet, where she really did prove that she don't like these children. She's not at all interested about being around these children. And actually what she likes is the very quick pose for a selfie.
And then came the detail that turned murmurs into raised brows. The empty seats. Not just a few scattered gaps, but enough visible space to make industry regulars quietly take note. At Sundance, where tickets are usually snapped up instantly, noticeable vacancies send a signal, fair or not. Festival optics matter. Optics become narratives. Narratives become headlines. Staff reportedly tried to soften the visual by guiding people inward, but you can't really disguise thin energy in a room built for buzz, and buzz is currency at Sundance. Films don't just premiere there.
Film folks who are there working, and they went to this screening, and they said when it started, and it's a small theatre, this is not Radio City, this is a small theatre. When it started, there was about 150 empty seats. As the movie progressed, I think ushers or people were pushed in to try and make it look a little less embarrassing, but there still was about 60, 70 seats. What's really unusual is that anyone that's been to Sundance knows that these theatres are packed for the 2 weeks, for the time that the festival is on. It's really hard to get a ticket. So
there are often lines outside of screening rooms, well before.
They fight for distribution deals, for platform pickups, for that golden after-screening word of mouth that turns a small documentary into a streaming hit. Which brings us to the uncomfortable business side of the chatter. Industry watchers immediately began speculating. If this project had major streamer backing from the start, would it be hustling for traction here? The whispers quickly tied the conversation to Netflix, given the Sussex's past partnership. No confirmed statements, just raised eyebrows. And that classic Hollywood phrase, interesting timing. The narrative forming in real time wasn't flattering. It painted a picture of a project still searching for a home, paired with star power trying to frame it as a prestige victory lap. That contrast, ambition versus reception, is what made insiders lean forward. Then came the moment that truly shifted the temperature. Festival goers tell Bauer they felt the post-film praise didn't match the film's actual message.
Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Scamelot, they were at the Sundance Film Festival. I mean, what a fall from grace, okay? They're at a film festival doing the red carpet like wannabe influencers and celebrities when they were real royalty, right? People would have been flying to see them. Celebrities who were at Sundance would have been jumping through rings of fire and hoops just to hang out with her if she were still a duchess, right? If she were still a duchess and living over in, London eating crumpets and scones, people would be jumping through hoops to hang out with her. And now she's having to do these desperate PR stunts. So,
not malicious, not cruel, just confused. As if the speech celebrated a version of the story that didn't quite exist on screen, and that's where the gossip machine found its fuel. Because when public figures champion a cause, audiences expect alignment. When the alignment looks shaky, critics pounce, especially with someone like Meghan, who already lives under a microscope where every gesture gets decoded, debated, and dissected. The documentary's reported themes: financial pressure on families, children performing, emotional labor, systemic advantages for those with resources, aren't light topics. They sit in a gray space between empowerment and exploitation. Applauding it as purely heartwarming struck some viewers as missing the nuance entirely. Online chatter followed fast. Message boards, social threads, entertainment insiders whispering to reporters off record, not declaring scandal but questioning awareness. And in celebrity culture, did she even watch it? Is a brutal question because it suggests performance without substance. Layer onto that the delicate relationship with organizations depicted in documentaries. When groups feel exposed rather than supported, tension rises. According to Bauer's reporting, there's sensitivity around how the youth organization at the center of the film is.
They're such dopes. They're such dummies. You come to me. Good luck selling that movie, because what real drama requires is some conflict and some tension. And if the only real narrative question in Cookie Queens is, will these girls sell all their cookies so they can have another year with the Girl Scouts? But the answer is, yeah, of course, because their parents have to buy them in bulk. Story's over.
It's over. I've told you the whole movie. I'm sorry, did I give away the plot? Maybe not. That's the whole movie. That's the whole movie. They stretch it into an hour and a half. It's telling that Harry and Meghan did not get up and introduce the movie. Normally the stars, the producers.
Portrayed, particularly if public endorsements make it seem officially backed when disclaimers say otherwise. All of this might have remained small festival gossip, if not for the larger context. The Sussex brand has been in a rebuilding phase. Every appearance analyzed as either comeback or mistake. So this moment, fair or unfair, slid directly into that narrative. Are they attaching to projects strategically or reactively? Are they leading conversations or stepping into stories that are already in motion? Hollywood is forgiving, but it's also ruthlessly pattern-oriented. One awkward premiere is nothing. Several confusing optics in a row that becomes a storyline. And the harshest part, none of this comes from a dramatic on-camera blow-up. No shouting, no walkouts. Just vibes. Industry vibes, the quiet, deadly kind that travel faster than headlines, because in that dim theater, with visible empty seats and a complicated film followed by glowing praise, a question hung in the air that no publicist could swat away. Did the message get lost somewhere between the red carpet and the reality on screen? And once that question exists, it doesn't leave easily. And here's where the temperature really changes, not because of one speech or one screening, but
Meghan Markle, yesterday, we talked about her brand new cookie documentary, Cookie Queens. Ooh, and I said it then. I'm like, is this a good documentary? Like, because the Girl Scouts, as we call here, they're called Girl Guides elsewhere. I just learned kind of the same organization. Kind of a questionable thing. Like, yes, it has its positives. Traditionally, it's more, richer upper class families that partake, and usually more affluent families and kids who succeed at selling the most cookies. And yeah, this felt a little exploitative, if I'm going to be honest, even just from hearing what it was about, as these like very little kids almost are like, paraded around, clearly with parents behind the scenes. And yeah, now reports are coming in that there's a lot more drama than I guess Meghan was aware of.
Because of the pattern people in that town think they're seeing. After the lights came up and the polite applause faded, the real premiere began. The after-screening conversation, hallway murmurs, party whispers, the "Esu, what did you think?" exchanges that actually determine a film's fate. And according to chatter amplified by Bauer sources, the tone wasn't outrage, it was bafflement. Because the documentary, as described by viewers, doesn't just celebrate smiling girls and cookie badges. It reportedly peels back the curtain on the financial pressure some families feel, the competitive culture around sales, and the uncomfortable reality that resources can shape outcomes. Subtle, yes. Nuanced, definitely, but not exactly a sugar-coated tribute. So when the post-film praise framed it as purely uplifting and empowering, people noticed the mismatch, not in a dramatic, scandalous way, more like a record scratch only industry ears could hear. And in Hollywood, tonal misreads can be more damaging than outright mistakes. They signal distance, detachment, a sense that the celebrity face of a project might not be fully in sync with its substance. That's where the criticism sharpened. Not she shouldn't support this, but does she understand what she's supporting? It's a softer accusation on the surface, but it lands harder because it questions awareness, not intention. Then there's the credibility layer. Meghan has built much of her post-royal identity around advocacy, careful language, and being seen as thoughtful about the causes she aligns with. So when festival goers walk away feeling the film carried heavier undertones than the speech suggested, the contrast becomes the story. And the industry loves contrast. Add in the optics of the screening itself, the visible empty seats people keep mentioning, and suddenly the narrative isn't about the film alone. It becomes about star power versus actual pull, about whether name recognition still guarantees an audience, or if fatigue has quietly set in. None of this is officially declared, of course. Hollywood rarely says the quiet part out loud. Instead, it shows you in subtle ways: softer applause, fewer standing ovations, less urgency from buyers. The absence of buzz is its own kind of headline. There's also tension around the organization depicted in the film. Youth groups and nonprofits are extremely sensitive to how they're portrayed, especially when documentaries explore systemic or financial complexities. If viewers interpret the film as highlighting uncomfortable truths rather than simple inspiration, and public figures appear to gloss over that nuance, it creates friction no one asked for. And friction travels. Another layer people keep circling back to is involvement. Industry insiders often look closely at how deeply celebrity producers are actually embedded in a project. Were they there from development? Did they shape the storytelling? Or did they join late, lending their name and visibility more than hands-on creative input? Fair or not, that question floated through Sundance air all week. Because if the messaging around the film doesn't match its tone, observers assume one of two things: either the film changed or the celebrity didn't dig deep enough. And in gossip culture, the second explanation spreads faster. This moment also lands at a tricky time reputationally. The Sussex brand has been navigating a complicated transition from royal headlines to Hollywood relevance. Every public move now carries extra weight, not just as a standalone event, but as evidence in a larger argument about whether their media chapter is ascending, plateauing, or wobbling. So a slightly awkward festival reception doesn't stay small. It gets folded into that bigger storyline. One premiere becomes another sign. One tonal mismatch becomes a pattern. That's how narrative gravity works in celebrity ecosystems. And then there's the personal optics that observers can't resist pointing out. Prince Harry has spoken extensively about media intrusion and the toll of public scrutiny. Yet here they are, still stepping into the brightest entertainment spotlights available. To supporters, that's resilience and career building. To critics, it's contradiction. Both interpretations exist at once, and the tension between them fuels endless commentary. Some analysts even tie it to the wider royal shadow. Comparisons get drawn, sometimes unfairly, to figures like Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her long-standing associations with youth organizations in the UK. The internet loves a rivalry narrative, even when real life is more complicated. So a documentary about girls' programs instantly becomes framed as competitive symbolism instead of just a film. That framing may be exaggerated, but perception often outruns reality. And once online communities latch onto a symbolic interpretation, it spreads far beyond the festival bubble. There's also quiet talk about brand dilution. Early post-royal projects carried a sense of event. Big deals, major interviews, global attention. Now, each new appearance seems to fight harder for the same level of impact. When an event meant to signal prestige instead generates mixed whispers, industry confidence doesn't collapse. It erodes millimeter by millimeter. And erosion is harder to fix than a single scandal. You can apologize for a mistake. You can clarify a quote. But how do you correct a vibe? That's the invisible battle happening now. Not a public feud, not a headline war, just a slow reputational chess game where every premiere, every speech, every project either rebuilds mystique or chips away at it. The harsh truth is that documentaries live or die on authenticity. Audiences forgive imperfect polish if they feel emotional honesty. But when the public face of a project seems even slightly out of step with its emotional core, trust wobbles. Not collapses, wobbles. And right now, wobble is the word circling this whole situation. Will it matter long term? That depends on what comes next. One strong, clearly aligned project could reset the conversation overnight. Hollywood has a short memory when success arrives. But if the next few moves feel similarly disconnected, big presentation, fuzzy substance, then Sundance 2026 becomes a reference point insiders quietly cite as the moment the sheen started fading. Because in the end, this wasn't a dramatic disaster. No booze, no walkouts, no viral meltdown. Just a room that didn't feel convinced. In an industry built on illusion, the second people stop believing the magic, even slightly, the spell gets harder to cast the next time.